Let's get this party started. Oh,
Enhanced season 2 at night.
at night. Taking the trash out. At
At
night.
night.
You're listening to Enhance, the podcast dedicated to highlighting real stories told by real people.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It is yours truly, Gabby Sabat, and the lovely Sam Brown.
Lovely. Oh my God. Hi.
Tee. And we're here for another episode of Enhance Season 2.
Season 2.
Who's ready? Who's ready? Who's ready?
Not me. I'm just kidding.
Wow. Anyhow, an update in my life. I've been doing interviews all day, and it was very long.
Oh, yeah, because Gabby's a boss. Like, Gabby has been interviewing people to hire, not to like find a job. So,
Oh,
Gabby.
yeah, I guess I should have cleared that up.
It's okay. That's all right.
But we're in our hiring process. I had 8 today. I have 3 tomorrow. I think I have 2 or 3 again the day after that.
Ugh, God bless. Well,
Yeah.
you guys find all of the little collars that you need. What do you guys call them?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what you call them?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
my student collars. I do also call them my chilies.
Oh, okay. I don't think that's the official job title though, right?
Correct. No, they're
Right.
student collars.
Okay. Right. Okay. So, whenever I was in college and I did that, we were called, first it was just like phonathon collars, but then later, thanks to the person who took over the program, who literally made it what it is, like at Spring Hill, she's freaking amazing. Love her so much. She called them philanthropy interns, and I was like, I like
That's
that.
cute. That's cute. But sorry to break your heart, but that is gone.
They don't do the phonathon at Spring Hill anymore? No. How'd you find that out?
I talked to the director of annual giving at Spring Hill.
Bro. Oh, why were you?
And they were like
trying to work there?
No, I was trying to convince them to come work for us, but that's a whole other thing.
Well, if you ever need anybody, definitely chat with good old, I'm going to say her name and hope she doesn't care, but Caitlin, definitely chat with her because, she did it there and she's working at Stanford now. So
Stanford?
Yeah, I think.
Well, she definitely upgraded in life.
Whichever one. I could be saying the wrong college. I could be totally misrepresenting her, but she's amazing, so she deserves to fucking work at Yale for all I care. So,
yeah, no, it's a fun time. I think we're starting to like expand our department, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, what about you, Sam? Anything new?
So, yeah, a lot of things are new. We've been grinding and enhance, getting some new clients, working on pulling in some new projects. So, I've been doing all that shiz while, just trying to pave a way for us, Gabby, trying to pay these bills. Yeah. You can't see it because if you're listening instead of watching, and also because Gabby didn't make a noise, so it didn't go to her, but she was doing like a swimming motion to show like paving
I fully said like this.
Yeah.
And it didn't pick up because it hates me.
No, it's because I was still talking. That's all it is. I'm just a loudmouth. I was overpowering you. I'm sorry. But yeah, so we are recording this at a different time of day, which is super fun, and that's why I have the lights going behind me. I do them sometimes, but like I usually use natural lighting because I'm sitting right in front of a window and it makes me glow. But tonight we're not. But anyways, what's new? I have my Etsy store that I have been selling things on, and I'm in the process of setting up a TikTok shop now, but I don't like how it's doing with my personal account, so I may just make a separate account for Mage Farms and just like not do anything with it except for have the Etsy or have the TikTok shop on it, because you can have like marketing accounts that are tied to it. So then I would just use my personal one as a marketing account. So working out the kinks with that. But I did get to sell at this event over the weekend that is it was by this local apothecary in my hometown, and they just set up in one of the towns in my county, and it was just super great. Like, it was super just an amazing experience. I got to sell a lot of stuff. I got to connect with a lot of local vendors, a lot of local just creators and stuff like that. And it was just amazing. And some of them like have reached out afterwards and are like wanting to work with me in my Etsy store and potentially work with Enhance too. So just a lot of cool stuff is happening there, and my Etsy store's just been kind of popping off. So yeah, but very exciting things and just getting her done, you know?
Get her done.
Yeah. Well, I know that you started off the episode, but I do have our icebreaker today. If
Yes, I
you're ready for
know.
that.
Go for it. No, I was going
Yeah.
to introduce, but you did
Oh,
it.
well, you do
So.
it, BB. Do whatever you want to do. This is
Oh
Gabby's
my
show.
God. Stop. Oh my God. No, let's go ahead and jump into the icebreaker. I know you've been holding it in your noggin, so spill the tea. What's the iceberg?
If it helps any, I have just like a little storage space set aside that's for random questions that I would love to just like ask people sometime. And so I started putting my icebreaker like randos in there too. So that's where I pull them from. So I think we've asked one on the show before. Normally one of my biggest go-tos is like, if you could have any superpower, what would it be and why? But I think we've used that at some point before. So I'm not going to use that one today. Instead, I'm going to do, it's similar, but it's going to be a little bit of a little step over, a little juking out, you know, like thought you were going in that direction, but we're not. So, if you could be any mythological creature, whether it's from like a book, or just like a imaginary creature or mythological creature, something that was made up that you've like read in a book or that you've read in, you know, mythology, because I know you're a big Egyptian mythology gal. I know you love Egyptian mythology. If you could be any creature, not deity, not God, not anything like that, creature, what would it be and why?
That's so difficult because the first ones I thought of were not Egyptian, actually.
What?
Which is like so rare.
Greek? Were they Greek? No, maybe.
Are they? No. Well, no.
Or they could just be like fictional. I guess I could have said fictional creature too.
Yeah. Well, the first one I thought of obviously was a mermaid, because why not?
I just watched The Little Mermaid yesterday. Well, I started it 2 days ago and then finished it yesterday. Loved it.
Right.
So good.
And her voice is so good. So good.
Oh my God. Like, I was not expecting it to be as good as what it was. Which, I mean, I thought it was going to be good and I was very excited to see it. But like, it like took it away.
You know what? I will say this about the new like movies that are live action from Disney. Some of them hit hard and they're good. And then other ones, I'm like, I could do without that.
You know, I loved the live action Beauty and the Beast, and a lot of people didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but anyway,
I'm one of those people.
You didn't? We could literally talk about that forever. But
let me rewatch it and relive it, and then we could discuss.
Yeah. That makes. I mean, I get why people are averse to the Beauty and the Beast story anyway, but my little savior complex are like, I can love them enough to fix them. I've had that evidently since I was like a child, so I've always loved Beauty and the Beast.
Jesus. Well, that was my first thought was mermaid.
Yeah.
So first thought was mermaid, and then the second thought was like a phoenix, like a fiery phoenix.
I like that. I like
it too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I do
what
like
about
that.
You?
Well, you got to tell us why. Why were those the two things that you wanted?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I want to be a princess, and why not be a mermaid at the same time?
Right.
Period. And then I wanted to be a phoenix because, like, that girl can do some damage.
Right.
And like, she could be like really calm, like sitting next to you, but like you hurt her, girl, she's coming through your throat. That's it.
Yeah. And phoenixes are reborn, you know, they like
always
rise from the ashes.
Whoop-ha! You know, like like that. Just beautiful.
Yeah. Definitely.
And then like fire, you know. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Those are some good ones. I think I like the mermaid one. That's something that I've always been like, literally like 12-year-old me was literally like the one that was looking on YouTube, like how to turn into a mermaid. Like, is it possible for a human to become a mermaid?
Did you play mermaids in the swimming pool?
No, because I'm a boy.
Oh.
And I wasn't allowed to play girly games when I was growing up.
That's awkward.
But it's
I
okay
did.
because now, wow, Gabby, thanks for bragging. Clear, no.
Clear, oh no.
Clear. The
Oh,
condensation.
the
Ema. Anyways,
condensation.
yeah, but there's a channel I follow on TikTok that she talks about mermaids all the time. But anyways, yeah, do you believe in mermaids?
I don't know, because I didn't
Mm.
think I believed in the Loch Ness Monster or Bigfoot, but like,
You don't believe in Bigfoot?
I didn't used to.
Oh, but you do now.
Yes.
Good. Okay. I was about to say, like, I'm a big believer in Bigfoot. But anyways, big believer in Bigfoot, but big Bigfoot fan. Big Bigfoot fan. How Moth Girl girls are, or how Mothman girls. Wow. How
Wow.
Mothman girls are about Mothman. That's how I'm about Bigfoot. I'm like big Bigfoot supporter. Believe in
Right
yourself.
on.
That's all
Proud
you
of
need.
you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Proud of you.
But anyways, so if I could be any mythological creature, see, I'm very like torn. I've always thought that being like a dryad would be really cool, you know, because like in different lore and things like that, like depending on what you listen to, they're very like one with nature. They can turn into trees and plants and shit like that. They can communicate with animals, all that fun stuff, you know. I also think that I know it's gonna sound goofy, but I think being a werewolf would be fun.
I mean,
But
cool.
specifically like a shifter one. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have to turn on the full moon. I can turn whenever I want to. Maybe I have to turn on the full moon, but like other than that, I can turn anytime I want, you know? Um Actually, I'm gonna retract that. And I'm gonna say being a hybrid, vampire werewolf hybrid.
I knew you were gonna say that. In my head, I was literally about to
Yeah.
say, like, you don't want to be or a vampire. And then you
Yeah.
went, actually, I'm
I'm
changing
gonna
my
retract it.
mind.
Yeah, so I
Right.
think
Oh my
that would
God.
probably land over all of them because like you still have the like connected to nature kind of side of it that like you do with like you know like with it being a werewolf I can like change and run through the woods and shit like that and then like you know but then with a vampire I have the like luring like Scorpio vibes where I'm like I could kill you right now Bella you know but like
Where you been, Loca?
oh my god where have you been Loca?
I cannot even deal with the fact that Twilight exists, but it is what it is.
I love it so much. Anyway,
It's
but yeah,
it's
so
cringe that
I
it's
think that's my
good.
answer. Yeah, yeah. I know that's a very basic answer too, because I feel like there's so many cool mythological creatures out there that I could
Oh yeah.
go with.
Oh
But you
yeah.
know, like you at
Well, I
least
was
pulled like
like,
Phoenix out of the fucking like locker, you know?
well, according to Pottermore, you know how you find your little oh my God, now I'm forgetting. Yes,
Patronus.
mine
Yeah.
is a phoenix.
What is mine? I can't remember. I think mine, if I'm not mistaken, is a spotted hyena, and I love spotted hyenas. Yeah,
Ooh.
so I'm totally okay with that.
Well, and I think mine's supposed to be like rare or something because
Ooh.
not everyone gets a phoenix, which I was like, oh, really?
So you fancy, huh?
I'm just like cool like that. Just
You
get on my
are.
level.
What's your Pottermore house?
I'm a Slytherin.
Me too.
Except like I literally have a phobia of our mascot. It's
You
fine.
do. I would have so thought you were a Hufflepuff.
Don't do that to me. That's so rude.
I love Hufflepuffs.
I love Hufflepuffs, but don't tell me I'm a Hufflepuff.
I understand that. Respect as a fellow Slytherin respect. But honestly, I'd rather somebody be like, "I thought you were a Hufflepuff," than someone say, "I thought you were a Gryffindor." Oh, so you think
big
that
facts. You know what?
I'm
Agreed.
really
Agreed.
I'm dumb and people think that I'm brave, but I'm actually just dumb and people get me out of my problems all the time. Cool.
Literally.
Like Hermione was not a Gryffindor; she was a Ravenclaw, and that's period. End of the day.
Period.
Like end of the story. Like
period.
she literally like she chose to be a Gryffindor, and honestly, I think it was because she knew that her two little dweeby friends were gonna need her. That was it. Which I don't know. Were they friends at the beginning, or they met very early on before the Sorting Hat, right?
They were friendly.
Yeah, I think she was just like, these two boys, they gonna need me. They gonna need me.
And then the hat was like Gryffindor, and we were all confused. We were all sitting there with our, fingers like this, like,
Excuse
girl,
me?
what is happening? It's wrong.
Ravenclaw. Anyways, but yeah. So, without further ado, I guess we should introduce what our topic's about today.
So, if you guys remember from the last time me and Sam were on the episode together, we were supposed to do red flags, but we ended up doing a different topic.
Yeah,
Bullying.
Did we say that we were like, I know we said we were going to change our minds. Like, I know I was like, do you want to change what we're going to talk about today? And like, just took it from the,
I thought we put it in the recording.
Did we? So yeah, well, either way, like,
I mean,
yeah, so we're going to be talking about red flags. Yeah, exactly.
Just a little later than we thought.
It's okay. Yeah, it's all right.
But red flags are everywhere. Red flags can be in your workplaces. They could be at your house. They could be with your friends. They could be in relationships. Red flags are flying, and everyone's got their rose-colored glasses on.
Mm-hmm. Literally, I just matched with this guy on Tinder. I think it was over the weekend. And yes, I'm on Tinder. Okay.
Congratulations.
All right. Just
I got blocked out there. So
you got blocked from Tinder?
Correct.
Why? I feel like so many people talk about that.
Listen,
and like,
I didn't do anything wrong.
That literally, I've heard that. I think it's an anti-woman thing, knock on wood, because like I've never met a guy who's been like, I got blocked on Tinder, but like I've met so many girls that have been like completely banned from Tinder. And that whole backstory thing where with Bumble, how like the creator of Bumble was actually one of the creators of Tinder, but she was the only girl on the team, and they basically just like wrote her out of everything. So she was like, all right, fine then, F y'all, I'm gonna go start my own thing. And like, I'll make it to where the ladies have control, and of course she opened it back up for like, LGBTQ plus people and like non-binary people and things like that, so like it's not, and she did Bumble BFF, but still like, that's why so many people were like, yeah, Bumble. And honestly, I do prefer Bumble's vibes a lot more. It's just like not popular most of the time, but
men on Tinder suck. I hate them.
You're not wrong. But anyways, I matched with this dude on Tinder over the weekend that he literally in his bio, he was like perks of dating me, and like one of them was like, we'll ignore all your red flags. And so when we matched, I messaged him and I was like, hey, how's your day going? No response. So today I messaged him again, like it's been a few days, and I messaged him again and I was like, so do I need to like submit a list of my red flags to you so that you can ignore them? Or do we just go do one of the other things that you listed? And because he like listed like, I'll take you to go like sniff candles at TJ Maxx or something like that. And I was like, so like, do I have to submit a formal list to you and then like we go?
Is there a Google? Is there a Google form I can fill out?
Yeah, like let me know. I'll send a PDF over, signed, sealed, delivered today. You just let me know, because he was really cute. That's the thing. Like he's somebody that like I really just vibed with his profile, and like there were some red flags there, especially the fact that he like said that he would ignore my red flags, or like anybody's red flags. But I was like, I really vibe with this profile. Like I want to chat with him, but like of course it's Tinder. No one ever actually talks. It's fine.
And that's why I use #Bumble.
Do you use Bumble?
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, just talking about it now, I'm like, I should download Bumble again, because I really am like trying to get like I feel like I'm ready to like start trying to date again. Even though I never have freaking time. I feel like it's been a while. I mean, I've been single since 2017.
I mean, yeah, true. I mean, I just fully was like, yeah, I use Bumble, and people still think I have a boyfriend. We broke up. Update.
Oh, shoot, you're right. That was a while back too. That was like July that happened.
4 months ago.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a long time.
Okay. Hasta la vista.
Baby Jesus. Woo.
Yeah.
Anyway. So, yeah, no, I use Bumble.
I think hasta la vista means see you later.
Yeah.
So we won't be seeing him later. Adios. Anyways.
Well.
But yeah. So, I don't know. But, like, one red flag, you can't respond to messages. Like, why do you not want to send messages? Like, what? If you're one of those people that just gets on Tinder to match with people and never respond, like...
Well, and let's even bring it off of dating apps. If you're not fucking responding. I just said an F word. If you're not responding.
I didn't even hear it. I just said, oh, yeah, at the same time. So, that's a good...
Oh, yeah.
Twice, like, during this episode already. I'm going to have to go back and snip that out. You'll hear the doop over my like words.
All of my words. My entire sentences today, just blur them out. Don't even listen to what I have to say.
It's literally just going to be the theme song over you speaking every single time. Like, it's doop, 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 doop.
You're going to just hear the whole theme song.
Yeah.
It's not going to be anything
over and over and over again. It's going to be talking.
And then all of a sudden you're going to see, and then all you're going to hear is, welcome to Enhance. Bye, guys. And that's it.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for listening and watching.
So, Gabby, what mythological creature would you be? Doop, 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 doop.
And it's just me going.
Dancing. Yeah. But anyways, so if you're not responding and ghosting, and I'm really glad you brought that up, because I have some deep thoughts about ghosting, but I'm gonna let you continue that thought first.
Well, and let's, when I was saying is let's take it away from, dating apps. If you're not
Mm-hmm.
messaging, like, I totally get like a couple hours. I'm not one of those people where I need you to consistently talk to me. But if you go for like 5 days, what do you expect me? What do you expect me to do?
Yeah.
I want to know.
Also,
and you want me to still be obsessed with you?
Honestly. And like, I'm also like, can we also talk about like, what's it like? How is the like intentional or like cognitive responding? Because like, I would prefer you just ghost me. So I know, like, all right, this person's not interested. Then you sit there and like not respond to what I'm saying, but still sending me messages. Like, there's a guy that I've matched with a while back now, and like, I never want to fall into like or apply, I guess that would be the right way to say it. Like, I'd never want to apply heteronormative like terms to a gay relationship, because like that's sort of what like has put such a struggle on the dating community anyways for gay men. And so like one thing that I say a lot is like, I'm more into masculine dudes, but I'm not going to sit there and be like, you're too feminine for me, because like that's the whole gender norm binary thing applying to like gay men. And like, it's not the same, there isn't a girl and a guy in the relationship. So I try to like really take that off, but there are like certain vibes that I'll pick up on where I'm like, okay, you would probably be the one to kind of take the lead here, and so like there's a guy that I matched with a while back. He's older than me, he's more masculine than me, he seems a little more like put together than me, if that makes sense. Like, he's found his career, he's got a house, he's got all this other stuff, he lives in a nice place and all this other stuff. And like me, I'm like still very much taking care of my family. I'm like moved back to home very recently. I have a business that we're getting up and running, we have a podcast, like I'm all over the place. And so I was like, okay, he seems a little more like tuned to what he wants, so I'll let him take the lead, but I'm going to make sure I make it very obvious that like I am interested, right? And so he'll Snapchat me, and we literally have had a streak. I think our streak is at like 80 something days now. And so we have been Snapchatting nonstop, and I think we had a smaller one before that, and it broke just because I was busy one day and wasn't able to like Snapchat. And he still Snapchats me every single day, but I'll respond to him and say like, oh, what are you doing? Or what's this? Or like, how was your day? Or like, oh yeah, haha, and like respond to what it is he sent me.
And it's
and
just
then
a
he
picture.
and then he just like won't say it, or he'll like leave it on red, or just the next Snapchat he sends me is like something completely different. And I'm like, are you reading the messages that I'm sending to you? Like, what is this? And that's also like, that's been a very common thing, or something similar to that. Like, there was a guy that I matched with earlier this year, like toward the end of last year into this year, that was in Birmingham. And we actually matched on, don't judge me, Facebook dating. And it's somebody that I had matched with before, like on Tinder and stuff like that. And I'd always seen him around. But like, when I saw him on there, I was like, this man is cute. Like,
right.
He is a cutie patootie,
Hey, that's how I met my ex. I mean,
well, hopefully, that's not how I'll meet my ex. But so I literally, at that thing that I was selling at over the weekend, the market that I was selling at over the weekend, I had a really great friend of mine come sit with me. And it's somebody that I met like whenever I got ready to like start moving back to Clanton last year. Like, whenever it was like, will I not? I don't know. Around October, I met her and her husband, because he does a lot of like film stuff here. And she and I just like hit it off, like gay gal pal vibes. You know what I'm saying? And so... And but she came and sat with me because he was sitting with another group of our friends. Like, I say our friends, they're friends that I knew from like before I left, and they stayed really close. And I like didn't disconnect, but just like when I moved away, didn't really keep in touch with them because we weren't that close. But it's people that I like always remembered fondly. So I made like a point to be like, hey, I really like you guys. I like your vibes, and I like that we have this mutual like friend connection. Let's be intentional about hanging out in the future, because like I really like y'all. And they were like, oh my God, we feel the same way. Like, it was super cool. But anyways, so she was sitting there with me and like hanging out, and there was this guy, and we talked like dudes all the time. And so there were these dudes that were in like a booth across from me, set up for like a Bell's Bondsman company or something like that. And there was one dude that was like so fucking cute, like my type to a T. Like, looks a little southern, but looks like really sweet and friendly and open-minded. Kind of looks like he would hate crime me in a past life. like that's my
kind of love that for you. Wow.
that's
incredible.
my vibe. Yeah, that's literally, I have like, if they look like they would hate crime me, they look like a country bumpkin Southern man, but like they have a sweet smile. That's my type. But anyways, so and he was like being very friendly with me too. Like he like yelled across the little like walkway at me at one point and was like joking and stuff like that and kept on like asking questions and stuff. But I mean, obviously he was just being friendly. Like my gaydar did not flicker in the slightest. And so, but the whole time, like we were just joking, and I said something about going over and asking him. This was such a long-winded way just to say what the funny joke was. But I said something about like going up to him and being like, "Hi, what's your name? Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. You know who you look like? You remind me of somebody." And I think it's so
Ew.
crazy that you remind me of them. But you know who you remind me of? My future husband, like, or my next husband. Like,
you were going in.
And so, but we were just joking. But anyway, so yeah, that would have been a red flag. But anyhow, so the whole thing with this dude earlier this year though was that I messaged him on Facebook dating or whatever, and he didn't respond. And so that's something, if I message you twice, you're cute. And you know that like I'm feeling you. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't do that shit. Like I don't waste no time. Like if you're not gonna respond, I'm like done, And there's a good chance that if I message you and you don't respond and then say that something happens and I like reset my account or something and I see you again in the future, and like I'm just going to swipe left on you. I'm going to remember that you didn't respond, and I'm not going to waste my time. I'm very picky about my time, And so I messaged this man again and was like, "Hey, I think you're really cute. I like your profile. I'm just reaching out again, like shooting my shot again." And so he finally responded. He was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much, blah, blah," and like went and followed me on a bunch of stuff. I followed him back and everything. And so we started Snapchatting, and he would like say something that would start like this really cool conversation. We'd message back and forth like once or twice, and he'd completely drop off. And he'd just like leave me on red for whatever my response was. And we'd be like starting a good convo, like about music or something. And like, once you start talking to somebody deep about music, like that conversation could go on for a while.
It hits a different type of way.
It does. And so, especially if you can talk to somebody who can like speak deeply about music, like sit there and be like, yeah, and like whenever this part came in, like I really felt that, and these lyrics, I felt like they've meant this way. And like that's the kind of conversation it was like amping up to be, dropped off, completely gone, just ghosted me. And he just kept doing that. Like he would literally like leave me on red and then send me something else that I'd like want to respond to. So it seemed kind of like maybe he might have been like sending it to multiple people. And like I just so happened to be the one person that was trying to strike up a combo about it. But I'm like, I told you what my intentions were. Like, I think you're cute. I vibe with your energy. Like, I want to get to know you, And so finally there was a point where I just asked him, I was like, dude, like, what is the deal? Like, what's happening?
Yeah,
like, or is this just how you communicate? Like, what is this, And so he was like, sorry, no, I've just been really busy. He was like, but no, like, you're totally right. I'll try to be more communicative. And for a little bit he did, then he started doing it again. And I just stopped. Literally like a month later, he was in a committed relationship. And I was like,
You know what the biggest red flag is that I've seen?
What?
Is when they're like, "Oh, you're cheating on me. You're going to cheat on me." And then they're the ones cheating.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's projecting.
I hate that.
Yeah.
Hate it with a burning passion. I've watched my friends go through it. I've watched myself go through that. Like, you cannot sit here and tell me that I'm cheating on you when you're cheating.
Yeah.
You're literally doing.
Like, you are literally a cheater. And it's like, that's why you think I'm cheating on you, is because you're a cheater. Oh my God. Like, literally. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'm like, is it just trauma speaking? But every time I'm never proven wrong.
Yeah.
And I just want to be proven wrong.
That's something that I was thinking about earlier. And I want to wrap back around to romantic relationships because, I got a lot to say.
Lots to say.
But something that I was thinking about earlier too, and I feel like you and I are both the same way in this. Like, I'm the kind of person that whenever I meet someone for the first time, and like it'll be like my whole friend group is meeting somebody, right? And I'll immediately be like, "Ooh, those are some red flags." But everyone else seems to like them and seems to not notice them. So I'm not going to worry about it. And then those red flags happen, right? And they like pop up and everybody's like, "What? I did not see this coming." And so then the next time something like that goes to happen, you try to give people a heads up and be like, "Hey, so this person did this, and I think that's a little bit of a red flag." And people are like, "You're just being judgmental. That's not cool, blah, 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 whatever." And then it happens. And when it happens, everybody's like, "Whoa, didn't see that coming." And you're just like, "I did."
And you know what? People ignore the red flags so much just because of like, I don't know if it's like loyalty or what, but like, think about this objectively. Like, is the behavior ever going to change?
Yeah.
Is the behavior healthy? It's not even for the fact that, like, who's right, who's wrong. Is what they're doing to people or whatever's happening healthy? No, probably not.
You know, that's something that I say a lot too. And this isn't really a red flag thing. This is more of a like, is it healthy? Is it going to change? Like responding to what you just said. I say this all the time, and I've been having to like say it till I'm blue in the mother effing face, specifically to my family. That's what gets me. I'm like, y'all, get it together. But something I've been having to say a lot, and you've probably heard me say this too. When someone shows you who they are, accept that's who they are. If somebody is showing you who they are, let them show you who they are. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't sit there and like give them opportunity after opportunity. Don't give them chance after chance. Don't give like when someone shows you
who they are,
accept that. Be like, okay, you show me who you are. Thank you. Cool.
Yeah.
Oh no, we're done. I don't care if you change.
And I'll say this too, you know, like I think of it as like, you know, kind of like the haters are gonna hate, but the hate is really climbing because of what? Because they don't like themselves. They hate themselves. There's something about them that they're insecure about. And if they're going to cause issues, that's probably what's going on. I mean, I'm not going to say that's every time, but a good 90% of the time, there's usually an insecurity that's lying there in why they're acting the way they're acting.
Yeah.
You know, that's not to say don't have boundaries.
Yeah.
But just remember that once you have a boundary, people might not agree with that boundary and they're going to walk away, and that's going to be that.
Go listen to episode 2 of season 2 if you haven't already, to listen to me and Gabby talk about boundaries. Anyway. But yeah, and like literally there's something, and I'm not going to give too much detail just because like right to privacy, but there's someone in my family that has been spending time with someone that is an ex, and it's an ex that I had a tiny bit of an altercation with at some point because that ex lost their brain all of a sudden, and I lost my brain in response to them losing their brain. And I might have had to get the police involved. So it's a whole thing, you know, like there's a whole thing in the past about it and everything. And like my whole family's just been like, like my mom is the worst about like dropping it and leaving it alone. So she'll be like, oh, well, they're acting better now. They're acting shit. And I've been like, no, you know, for me and you to keep getting along and being here, when somebody shows you who they are, you got to let them show you who they are. And she's been doing real good with it. But this other person in my family has like started, you know, talking to that person again. And I was like, why? I was like, you realize that if anything ever happens and we have to do something like legal, I won't have a case if they find out that my insert family member here is still spending time with that person, you know? And so we've had multiple discussions about it. And then all of a sudden, like the other day, I see their vehicle pull into my yard, my house. And that I go to like approach and I'm like, hold up now. You know, you're not allowed back over here, right? And come to find out, that family member invited them over to come pick them up. And they're seeing each other again. And I'm like, where, like, this is more than just red flags that you're ignoring here. Like, you are giving off red flags now. Like, you are repeating toxic traits. Like, this is a cycle. Like, you're the toxic one here, too. Like, both of you are. Like, how do you expect anyone to ever want to take up for you or step up for you or defend you when you're being toxic, too?
Yeah. Well, and I think it comes back to not everyone's perfect. I mean, everyone has red flags. I have red flags. You have red flags.
Same.
We all have red flags.
Right.
It's just in what capacity that you want to deal with it, and especially in a family situation, how everyone else wants to deal with it, because that's a little bit more of like I feel like closed door situation. But like for me, like I don't care. Date whoever you want. Do whatever you want. Well, but as long as it's not coming at me, I'm okay.
And see, that's the thing, is that in this instance, it was definitely coming at me because the specific person threatened me and like threatened my family and like pulled a lot of other stuff. Yeah. So, and if I told now, I'm like, oh, Gabby probably knows which situation I'm talking about now because you know all about it. But with that, like, and without giving too much of my like personal information away, just because like I don't want people to like, this ain't nobody else's business. I'm just talking about it for the podcast. But like, that's the thing, is like red flags like can pop up at any point in time, and when they're there, they're there. Like, don't sit there. Like, I've literally been sometimes like flabbergasted, absolutely positively thrown, because I'd be in a situation and somebody all of a sudden out of nowhere is just acting completely out of character, and it's like a switch is flipped. But you know what? I had to start finally going, you know what? If this is that person, I'm going to let them show me who they are right now. And this is how, and it's not like holding grudges or, well, like I'm a big
No,
person
it's
on like
not a
people
second.
change.
It's not a second that it's happening. It's over an amount of time.
Yeah.
Like for me, I always give people like after a situation happens, like especially if I'm the one that's like consistently like reaching out, trying to like amend the situation or like whatever it is, I give them about a month. And that's just because for me, I get in my head. I'm super toxic in the sense of red flags towards myself because I sit there and I go, oh my God, how can I fix it? They're mad at me. Blah, blah, blah. I'm going through all the motions and emotions again and again and again and again. And for me, it's unhealthy. So once you show me who you are and you continue to show me who you are for that amount of time, like I'm done.
Yeah. Well, see, I've had people like act completely out of like character randomly on me before. And me realize like, oh, they've done this to other people before, but it just wasn't me that they did this to. So I didn't notice it.
That happened to me recently. And I was like sitting there like, oh my God, all the puzzle pieces are coming together. And I was like, I would have never thought of it. And, I felt guilty thinking that way. I felt, but I was like, how was I not aware of it when it was towards other people, but now it's towards me, it's a problem. And I'm like, huh. But then I feel bad for those other people. Like, darn, like we should have done something, we should have stepped up, but like, it comes down in the end of the day, you don't know the whole story. And I'm sure that that one story is different than another, and who knows what's intertwined with that. And I just what an awful time.
Yeah. I know that there have been situations too where like and I'm going to bring up someone else again, but I'm just not going to say their name, but you'll know who I'm talking about, but I'm going to just be very vague, where like I have seen someone that I was really close friends with like withhold information with other people to the point of being like dishonest, or like withhold their feelings from other people to the point of being dishonest, but they would talk to me about it a whole lot and like randomly just like ghosting people, dipping out on people and stuff like that. But that person and I had always had like a really good friendship and had always been really close until it happened to me. And then the moment it happened to me, like I was like, you know what, that person will reach out like, within a month or so, and we'll be able to talk this through. Like this will be fine. And they never did. And it's been almost a year now. Yeah. And that person is like literally getting engaged. And I was always somebody that they talked about like having at their side and like being involved in the wedding. And like that hurts because like literally what happened was that I set up a precedent or a boundary. You know the situation, so you can attest to this. I set up a precedent or a boundary. They said they could handle that. And I told them if there was ever a point where they couldn't, to communicate very clearly and we'd be able to rearrange, because it was a situation where like personal and professional kind of got intertwined, and which is fine. I have tons of situations like that. Like, and as long as you keep open communication and are willing to talk things out,
you're
and like
vocalizing
renegotiate things. Exactly. Like it can stay healthy and fine. And so that's just what I told this person was like, this is the situation, but like you should not feel pressure or like stress or anything like that at any point in time. Like we're doing this together. Right. And so they're like, yeah, I totally get it. And we went from like talking about like all busy plans and all this stuff and having fun to where they like completely ghosted on something. Yeah. And like didn't speak to me for like 3 days, and then kept saying they were going to show up to something that they didn't show up to. And when I got upset about it and was like, hey, like I understand that life happens, but like this is what we were talking about. Like this is what I made sure you understood. Like we need clear communication and like no ghosting if you're going to be part of this. And they just did not respond, never opened my messages. I reached out a few times after that, and then just completely like gone. And I was in such disbelief because I was like, we were so close. We have been friends for like years, and they just randomly ghosted me like that. And now they're engaged, and it's to a guy that really did them dirty at one point in time. And I very much voiced my opinion about that. And I'm like, is it because you're now with that dude? You don't like, I don't know, but those are red flags that I had seen so many times throughout our friendship that had affected other relationships within their life, but not mine. And so I was just like, oh, well, it's different for me. And that's something I had to learn too, is like a red flag is a red flag. It doesn't matter. It's not different, like, there are some instances where it may like, there's like, it's sort of like the place where that drops off is like, you know how like when people are like, don't say anything, right? And you're like, oh, I won't. But then you're like calling your best friend and you're like, you can't say anything, but I have to tell you this, right? And like there are some instances where you like don't say anything. Like there's stuff like if somebody's like, do not repeat this to anyone, I'm like, I won't repeat it to anybody. But if there's something that's hush hush, I'm not gonna go gossip about it. I'm not gonna go spread it. But am I gonna call my bestie? Yeah.
Scram,
Yeah,
right?
you
No.
know, like-
But I feel like, you know, even when people are like, don't tell anyone, like if you're telling one person, you're telling 10.
Yeah.
Just automatically assume. Because like for me, no, I mean, I'm being honest. Like, example, like Natalie, who's been on this on season 1, season 2, she's been everywhere and everything. She knows everything about my life. If I feel a certain type of way, she's gonna hear about it. I don't care. She's literally like my friend wife.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
also
that's how
it's
it's gonna
just
be.
like healthy to have people too that you can just like rant about or rant to. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
they're like
and
I have,
everyone
you know,
knows.
yeah.
Everyone knows we're up each other's booties. Like, it's
Yeah.
fine. No
Well, no,
one's
like
upset
that's
about
what
it.
like I would say Haley and Morgan are like that for me, where they're just like my ranters. You know what I'm saying? Like they know like if Sam's upset about something, don't take it to heart. Like whatever he's saying about somebody else, just let him rant because it's not the like rational truth.
It's not.
He's
Yeah.
just needing to get the emotions out so that he can deal with it rationally. And
Well,
so like
and
they
you know,
like
I mean, we're the same way. Like, I will literally look at her and I'll be like, toxic thought.
yeah.
No, because okay, listen. Let me tell you how my brain works, and I'm sure I've said this a million times on this podcast. How my brain works is I go, how can this situation go wrong? And I think of every single way that I can think of, and then I start thinking, what am I not thinking about?
Oh
And
my
that's where everything goes to shit. Just
Oh my gosh.
absolute garbage. Like what was it? There was this one time I was like thinking about this situation, and all of a sudden the most toxic, like vile thought popped into my mind. And you know I'm not gonna hold it to myself. You know I'm gonna go tell her.
Yeah.
And I go, hey, toxic thought, what if this is what's actually happening? And then she would be like, could you imagine? And then tell me why that's what it is. Like,
You know?
because
That's
I don't
red
know.
flags.
Red
Listening
flags.
to the red flags.
But I also don't know if that's just me being traumatized. I think it's a mixture sometimes.
See, okay, yeah, all right. So I had a situation literally, and we talked about it on the friend breakups episode, and also like on the episode that I just recorded this past weekend, which is opioid crisis part 2, but it's going to come
Yay.
out after this episode, so I'm gonna I guess say it again. But there are a good bit, I think it's literally like every person that I talked about in the friend breakups episode, like I've reconnected with in a like had a like opportunity to mend things with, which is only like 3 out of the 4. God bless Gabby. But yeah,
okay. I move on.
You did, yeah, and you're doing better. But I had the opportunity to just kind of like reconnect with them, you know, and like also see like learn new information about the thing, like see things from their perspective, so on and so forth. And so like I'm not like super duper close with any of them, but it's been like we were able to mend this, and now we can like be around each other if we ever have to, and like we talk, and like it's just been nice because they're people that I would have considered like, I'm so sorry, Gabby. They're just people that I would have considered like old friends.
I'm just sitting here like shaking my head like this never happens to me.
It's okay. It's all right.
I think people just know that I go, this is how I feel about it, and then they leave me alone, and that's fine with me.
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, also like toxic people don't like it when you're honest with them. So yeah. But anyways,
say it with your chest. Say it with your chest.
But yeah, so but with like one of the situations that, and again, I'm not gonna like go into detail or anything because it's all in the past, but I literally like kicked myself for so long because I so many times were like, something is off here. And then I immediately was like, no, don't jump to that conclusion.
Yeah,
if something was off, if something was off, they'd talk to me. They'd come let me know. Months went by of me being like, something's off, something's off. And like, never said anything until it just like completely, they just dropped off and didn't say anything else. And I was like, I was right. And then, well, actually, I didn't realize I was right the whole time until we reconnected and they told me when they started feeling a certain type of way. And I was like, I literally this whole time.
Like intuitionally knew something was wrong. Like you just know.
And I was
like
gaslighting myself.
Well, and I still gaslight myself. Do you know how many times I'm like, dang, I really wish I could have fixed that? So many times. But then in the end of the day, the other person didn't want to fix it either.
Yeah.
So that's not on just me. That's also on them.
Yeah.
And that's where I think I go with it, because I'm not going to sit there and kick my butt about it. But I also know that I was like, I watched that one go. I watched that one go. I watched that one go. And now you're doing it to me.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like it's not a pattern.
Yeah.
Because it is.
Yeah. Exactly. But but back to the whole like relationship aspect too, because you brought up something earlier that about ghosting, and I have very like mixed emotions about ghosting. I think ghosting is really shitty, period, right? But is it warranted sometimes? I think so.
Yes.
Because, all right, and I'm glad you said yes, because I literally posted a TikTok about it one time, and it was one of my like least viewed, least liked TikToks. And I was like, that's okay. I still feel this way. Like, I still feel this way, and I don't care. And so here's when ghosting is bad, right? Say that like the situations we were talking about earlier, like a really good friend of mine for years didn't like that I like reminded them of a boundary and ghosted me, and it completely ended our friendship. That's not cool. That's really shitty, like situations like that, or you're dating somebody and you're like really moving forward and dating them. You've hung out with them a few times and then they ghost you.
And then they
that's
just
really shitty.
Away into the
that's
nothingness.
Exactly. And that's really shitty. But I ghost people a lot because I don't owe you an explanation. If I've set up a boundary and I've set up like a precedent, and I've been very clear about things that I like and dislike, and then you pretend to be on board with that, or you pretend to like understand that, or to meet that, or I can tell it's just a charade because you do it for a little while and then a little bit later you like F it up, and then I even give you like the opportunity for me to remind you like, hey, I don't really like that, and you keep doing it, repeating the same thing. I don't owe you anything. I don't owe you an explanation. I don't owe you the decency to sit there and spell out, okay, well, you haven't met this boundary that I placed for you 5 different times. So I'm not interested anymore. Sorry.
Yeah.
No.
Here's my thing. After like the first or second time, like trying to address the issue, like definitely time to go. Can't say that it's easier said than done, because I am guilty as charged. But I mean, it's over.
Yeah, it's done.
It's done. Friendship, relationship, family, anything. Yeah.
Yeah. There was this guy that I matched with earlier this year too. It was like earlier this year into the like, beginning of this year, or it was like
your
the beginning of
DMs
this
are
year.
Popping. That's so nice.
But yeah. Look, let me tell you something. Men are always interested in me until like it gets down to it. Like, or there's always been that like, I've talked about this before. There was this guy that I really, really, really liked that I like was dating for a little bit, like not like in a relationship with like dating, and he was just like ready to fucking go. Like he was ready to jump into a relationship. He was ready to like call it quits with everything else and be like, all right, this is my boyfriend after date 1. And like, I'm not like that. I'm like, no, we need to date for a little bit before I'm like ready to like,
at least like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like I want to be dating you for at least like a month though, like at least a month or 2.
Good intentions, I guess.
Yeah, but it was just like he was smothering me. Yes, that's a red flag. And it's a big red flag for me, because I had set up the precedent at the very beginning. And this was one time that I will say I'm very proud that I listened, like I paid attention to the red flags and listened, but I really liked him. And I still think about him sometimes because I'm like, God, he was just so sweet and so thoughtful. And there were also qualities about him that I just did not appreciate at the time, but I'm still glad I stayed true to me,
Wait, so is that the first time you listened to your red flags that
and
you were
yeah,
getting?
when it came to a guy, yes.
See, mine was recent. Mine was literally this was in
2020, right before the pandemic.
Must
like
be nice.
The last time I saw him, I'm so sorry, Gabby.
Can't say the same. Can't say the same.
Like the last time I saw him in person was literally the day lockdown came to Mobile, Alabama.
Oh,
yeah. So,
is it really? Was it really? Wow. You know what? I didn't put that together.
Yeah. But anyways, so yeah, but back to what I was saying though, there's a different guy that I matched with earlier this year, and that I wish that I was getting as much action in my life as what it makes it seem like with my DMs. But here recently I haven't been, because like I've been a lot more choosy with like who I give time to, you know what I'm saying? And like how long I sit there and let you message me without moving forward. And so, like this guy that I was talking about earlier, like he literally, like I said, we have a streak, but he just like isn't responding to me, like to the things I'm saying, you know what I'm saying? And so I finally just started ghosting him, like starting to do the thing where it's like, I'm not going to sit here and keep on just entertaining this like dumb loop of you, like you're obviously not progressing any, and that gets on my nerves. You know, that's a red flag too. But so it's like the two opposites, two red flags that are opposites is like you want to jump way too quickly and then you want to take way too much time. You know, where it's like no movement forward, you know?
Well, and that's where I'm kind of at in my life as well. I'm just kind of here and there and everywhere, but like at my house by myself, not talking to anyone.
Exactly.
Right. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm actually very okay with that because
yeah.
Relationship wise, like if you start acting in that type of way where you're just like not responding, you are not interacting with me when I bring you something and I'm trying to have a conversation and you automatically think I'm attacking you when I've used no attacking language, I don't get it. I just sit there.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, is that how you feel? And then I just leave it at that. And then if they want to talk to me, they want to talk to me. And if I want to talk to them, I'll talk to them. But I'm not holding myself to any type of obligation to talk to them.
Exactly.
Period. On God.
But there was this guy that I was talking with a little bit earlier this year, and he just like would do like he did this thing where like I think fun banter is cool, you know, where you kind of like are a little shady, but like not like offensively shady toward each other, where it's, you know what I'm saying, like because you and I do that a lot too, where we'll just kind of like pick at each other, you know, and like it's, you know, it's like fun and it's cute and it's energetic, and I like that a lot for relationships too, you know, like I like that fun little banter. But he would like take it a little too far, where it was like we weren't having fun banter, we weren't like picking on each other in a cute way. He would just like start insulting me, but like in a belittling way. Yeah. And so like one thing,
that his kink?
Well, see, I felt like he should have explained that.
Well, correct.
But like it wasn't like a like here. All right. So the straw that broke the camel's back, because I honestly, after this happened, I just stopped talking to him. I was like, all right, let's no, you know?
Right.
And so what was it that, oh my, now I'm honestly, while I talk to you, I'm gonna look back at our Snapchats because it would have been the most recent Snapchat that I had with him. But yeah, so like this is the last example.
I'm sure it was demeaning. Like I'm sure it wasn't positive. But the only reason I say was it is kink, because what I have found, and no hate to the kink community, but y'all don't know how to explain things sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and also that just means that somebody that's bad at kink, because somebody that's good at kink,
right?
Like,
they have great communication, right? But then I sit there and I'm like, we got to do something about that. We got to do something about that.
Did he just notice that I was looking back at our messages and make it to where they aren't saved anymore? I think he did, because I was literally just like open it up and looking, and now they're all gone. Like they were all here and now they're all gone. But anyways, that's fine. I'll just explain. So basically, though, the like straw that broke the camel's back for me was that he like so I have this little mole on my forehead, and it's a literal skin tone colored mole. And if you can't see, like, I mean, if you're watching, you can see right here in the very dead center of my forehead, like at your third eye area, like for anybody that's spiritual. But if you're like, oh, okay, no, they're still here, it just weirdly reloaded, that's fine. But anyways, so oh wow, this was me telling him about the podcast. Anyways, so
hi, hope you're listening.
Yeah. Anywho, so
TTYL.
yeah, but he would like send me, there was just a lot. There were a lot of red flags that I like let him get by with, but this was the final one. So I've got my mole here, right? And so one day I was Snapchatting him and he said, oh, you've got a pimple on your forehead. Better get that. Like, oh, that's a big one. And I was like, and I said, actually, that's a mole. I was like, that I've had that since I was in the 5th grade. It started off as a pimple. It was the very first pimple I ever had whenever acne like started. And when I popped it, it came back bigger. I popped it again, it came back bigger. And so when it came back that time, I left it alone, and it literally just turned into a mole. It's not noticeable either. It's not really something I dislike about myself. You know what I'm saying? It's literally just like a part of my face. I'm not insecure about it, you know? And so I was like, no, it's just a mole. I was like, it's just part of my face, you know? And he was like, oh, you're cute little mole. Wow, your little forehead dot. And I was like, okay, it's like, it's not like, I was like, it's just a part of my face. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
Where's the
And he,
social skills that
yeah,
this
and he
man
was just,
has?
yeah.
Like, where did
And
he learn
literally, whenever I
to
was
talk to people?
whenever I was explaining the situation, I think it was to Haley. Whenever I was explaining this to Haley, they were like, it's like he wanted you to be insecure about it. And I realized, like, when they said that, like,
Yeah.
every interaction that we had had up to that point where they were like being kind of like nitpicky about things at me, like, I was like, I'm a big Swiftie, right? And so one thing that he sent me one time was like, he sent a audio like recording of like this really weird instrumental cover to, or no. It wasn't even that. Sorry. It was like, I think he was literally humming a song by Taylor Swift, but I couldn't tell what it was or something like that. Or he was like humming it to an instrumental recording. I can't even remember. And I was like, he was like, what song is this? Can you guess what song this is? And I was like, no. And he was like, it's All Too Well by Taylor Swift. And I was
Oh.
like, okay. And then he like belittled me for not knowing it was like All Too Well by Taylor Swift. And I was like, what is this? What game is this? You know, like, so yeah.
Run
And then he started doing that
fast.
thing where like he would send stuff on Snapchat and then unsend it. And I'm like, you're literally just doing that to try and get my attention at this point. Like once, okay, twice,
Do you know that
but
that's
like,
a toxic thing that
yeah,
people
that's a
do?
red
You do
flag.
that.
It's a red
It's a
flag.
red flag. It's a red flag.
Yes,
I
I
used
used
to
to
do
do
it.
that.
I used to do it.
You and I just said that at the same time.
We twin
Honestly. But yeah, in high school, I did
Oh,
that. Like, I did that.
Oh, I did
But
that in
I would do that
college.
thing
I
where
did
it
that
would
in
be
high
like,
school. I did it all the time.
I
You
would,
wanted to mess with me? I'll mess with you. I'll make you feel like you should be thinking about me.
oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
I literally did that thing too on Snapchat where you would type a bunch of stuff to make it show up that somebody was typing on
And
their
then you
phone.
delete it and then you
And then
get out of
delete
there
it and
before
just
they.
go,
Right. I know.
oh my gosh. Yep.
I
Yeah.
remember when I said I have red flags. There
Yeah.
you go.
I mean,
There's
I don't
one
have them anymore, but I used to.
Why are you lying?
But yeah, and like literally
Everyone
after
has red
that,
flags. Everyone has something they need to work on, and that
yeah,
is that. Period.
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 Period. But yeah,
Period.
I literally like that after that happened though with the like forehead dot thing, I was like, all right, we're
No.
done. We're
Bye.
done. Like no more.
Sir.
No, thank you.
No.
No longer interested. And he would try to message me some after that, and I just ghosted him. I was like, no thanks. I'm good.
Well, that's
You know?
attacking. Like, here's the thing about ghosting for me, okay? From my point of view here. It's appropriate if you feel attacked, if you feel unwanted. Like if you're fully being ignored and like you're trying to message and then like you're trying to ghost at the same, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're being like harassed, like I understand that. But if I'm having a conversation with you and you're purposely ignoring me, or this part of ghosting, not a lot of people talk about, but it's practically the same thing, is when like, you know, the person doesn't want to hang out with you, but they like answer you. Like if I go, hey, Sam, you want to hang out? And you go, oh yeah, I can't because I'm busy and I'm working tonight. And then all of a sudden you're talking to like 6 of your friends around a bonfire.
Yeah.
You're ghosting them in like a weird way.
Like, just be honest.
Like, just be honest and be like, I don't want to be your friend, or I don't want to be your boyfriend. I don't want to talk to you.
I wasn't even thinking that. I was just like, oh, hey, I have plans, or like, hey, I'm not like, I'm wanting to go do this tonight. You know, like.
Well, no, because that's for me, that's ghosting. If you're gonna sit there and every time I ask you, like, hey, can we talk? Hey, can we hang out?
Oh,
hey,
okay.
do you want to have
like
a phone
every
call?
time, like, yeah. But I thought you meant just like one time. Like,
Well,
yeah.
no, that's
but
just
every
an
time,
example of every time.
Well, that's a red flag.
That's a red flag. That tells me that you don't have the, BALLS to come up to me and say something.
The bowels. Just kidding. The balls.
Bounce. Literally.
The cojones.
All I'm saying is if you don't have the nerve to come up and say something, like,
say it with your chest.
Say it with your chest, or just like don't be this like, I don't know. For me, it feels really fake.
Yeah.
It feels really like you're just keeping me around to keep me around. I don't want to be around if you don't want me around. And I certainly don't want to be around because I don't want you around. But when we're in this like awkward predicament, I mean, how do you shut that down? You just say it because you're the one starting it.
There's so many, and I've thought about that sometimes too, where I'm like, what is mentally unplugged in someone's head? Specifically where I've thought about this before is like, people that like will cheat unrelentlessly, Like, it's like they get chance after chance after chance to not be a shitty person, but then they just keep doing it. Like, what is unplugged in their head? What is missing? You know what I'm saying? And like, I've genuinely said that, I'm like, are you just like dissociating the whole time? Like, were you sitting there like, I'm so sorry, I want you back. Like, it was one mistake, I'll never do it again. And then you go do it again. Like, what happens? Because I don't think that person's sitting there being like, oh, I'm so sorry, blah, 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 blah. I'm a shitty person, I'm going to text someone else. Like, I don't think that they're like that. Like, I think it literally is just like they're so disconnected. Something is not plugging in, you know?
And I think it's a couple things, or maybe a mash of things, and maybe I'm missing things. But like, I think people get bored way too quickly, and they don't really understand, especially in a relationship. You know, I don't think people understand what loyalty is and how hard loyalty can be. Because if I'm in a relationship with you, you could be a 10, I gotta be the 90 of that relationship. I could be a 10 and you need to be the 90. But it's a communication thing. It's a loyalty thing. I'm going to stay here, even if I'm bored with you, maybe 1 week, because you're not going to tell me that you're fascinated with this human being all the time. Ooh, sometimes it's a normal week and you're just bored, and it's okay. But that doesn't mean you go and cheat on someone. So I think boredom's part of it. I also think that it's a lack of their own understanding of their own emotions. Because when I ask you, hey, like, can you, like, how do you feel about me? And you tell me, I don't know. Excuse me? Like, how do you not know your own feelings?
What's
like,
not plugged in?
Right.
Like,
where is the disconnect? Where, like, you know, and I'm not saying like you need to make up your mind quickly and blah, blah, blah. No, but like, you've been dating for like, let's say 5 months. I would hope that you know that is like, that is going to be a good person to keep in your life or not, and that you have feelings towards them.
Yeah.
If it's like 2 months, okay, maybe I can see like the little stagger. But even then, like, I feel like you should kind of know after, 5 to 10 dates, like, this is a good person to keep in my life, this is not. And then you start making decisions.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's one of those, or both of those, or a combination, or something else. But that's my theory.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree. I think it's people just like, they are very like 3-dimensional, if that makes sense, like, or like very 2-dimensional,
Sure, yeah.
where it's like, to them there's never really any forethought or reflective thought. It's just like,
it's just, what's I'm gonna go do it.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna go talk to this.
Yeah. And you know what is a red flag that I have really just like looked over in the past, and it's probably why I've dated so many narcissists, or like been involved with so many narcissists, but it's also what like makes me attracted to certain people. It's like somebody, you look like you're on the edge of your seat ready for this.
And I'm waiting for you to say it because I'm about to go, me too.
Yeah. I have no other way to put this except for when somebody is just cocky. Like in the very early phases, like when you very first meet them and you're getting to know them, like, I cannot stand it when somebody is cocky. Pisses me off.
Same.
Like confidence, cool. I love confidence. I'm a confident human. I'm very confident. I'm even a little ambitious sometimes. Cocky, I am not. I am very, like, I try to stay very humble. I try to stay very like receptive and like in a constant state of learning, and like accepting that I don't know everything, and like, now there is like a place of self-worth where it's like, I will say I'm irreplaceable. You're never going to find anyone like me.
And
there was a job. Yeah.
And you won't. And do you know how many people that will say that to me, and I'm like automatically turned off though?
Yeah.
That's the one part of
see, I won't say that to somebody in like a dating relationship or anything like that. I say it like in a like work aspect, because there was like my most recent project before the strikes happened, there was this guy, and I actually really, really liked this accountant that I worked for because he was amazing. Like, I just like a really nice guy. He and I vibed really well. He was like very snarky and like very like dry humor, but like I got that and I understood it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people didn't. A lot of people were very offended by it or were very sensitive to it, but he and I vibed, and it was a breath of fresh air, because like I had worked on so many projects where like bosses were terrible to me, like back to back to back. So for him to be like super supportive, super nice, like super understanding, just an all around swell dude. He had a good sense of humor. Like, I mean, he was like cocky in some ways, but not in a like, he was also very quick to be like, if he like, he was confident. I would say he's confident. It came across as cocky sometimes, but he like would, if there was something that he didn't know, he'd be like, ah, okay, cool, awesome, glad to find that out, you know? Like it was never a big deal, like if he found out he was wrong, you know, which is like a huge thing. But one time he said something, we were just talking on the phone, and because we just chatted like that a lot, because we were both working remotely, and he was in LA, I was in Alabama, the project was in North Carolina. And so we would just like chat on the phone a lot to kind of like powwow it out and like talk about stuff. And he was talking about this instant where something where like he was sitting with two people and someone made a comment, and it was like, I think it was his girlfriend or something like that. And it was somebody that she was working for or something. And she made a joke, and the boss said something about like, well, you know, you're replaceable. And and he said, well, everyone is, you know, like that's what the guy, like my boss said, was like, well, everyone is replaceable. And I was like, I hear you, but I'm not. And he was like, I could have another, like, he's like, no, he's like, I like you a lot and you're great. He's like, but I could have another, like you, like I could have another, like like assistant accountant here. And I was like, but you didn't. It took you so long to find me.
Correct. That
And
is,
I was,
you know what?
and I was like, you're not going to find somebody like me. Like you're somebody that will put up with the BS and like work as hard as what I do. You're not going to find anybody like me in a work sense, you know? And so like, that's not me being cocky. That's me having self-worth and knowing my worth.
Well,
and
that's different.
Yeah.
The red flags that come out of a job, I swear, like they be coming out of left field and you're like, huh? That happened literally my entire life. Literally, I used to work at a clothing store and I was really good at my job. And at that point, they weren't counting it as like group sales, like what you guys did all together. They very much like made it a competition to see who would do the best in sales. And I mean, you didn't get like, I mean, you got prizes from it, but you didn't get like an extra percentage or anything. And so I was killing the game. I was really killing the game. And all of a sudden, the manager started getting upset with me, all of them, because I was doing better than them. But I was an associate and they were a manager. Right. And so, red flag, you're going to tell me my managers are going to be jealous of an associate, first off. Second of all, you're just not doing your job, because it's not hard to sell stuff. And maybe it's just me because I'm a very charismatic person in that sense. Like I can talk to a wall. Okay. Yeah,
same.
But, right.
See, that's why we have a podcast.
Here we are. But yeah, no, like you can literally like, I could talk to anyone. You could talk to anyone. It's not hard to sell things. It's all about making that rapport and building that bond and just being a really strong advocate for whatever you're selling. Even if you disagree with it, you don't tell them that.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to go, well, this product I'm not such a fan of, but this one, it's great. I love it. I will do that, period. But, when your managers start getting like jealous of you, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Also, when they all meet up and try to like not schedule you, red flag. Red flag. I'm also a big candidate in being paid what you're worth.
Yeah.
You fight for that. And
Period.
You know, if they are going to react in a way that is not positive, red flag. Yeah. But you also have to be, it's because you know your worth. You know when you walk in what you bring to the table. When I walk into my job, whether it's, you know, that clothing store or it's my current job or, you know, whatever, I want to put my best foot forward with as much time. If I have time to do it, I'm putting 300%.
Yeah.
300% I'm charging. I'm making that thing my child. Okay. And I'm not going to get paid for that. That doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? So
that's like, there's this TikToker that I follow that the character's name that she did is Veronica, but I forget what her name is. But she does these skits all the time that talks about like how people are mistreated in the workplace, you know? And like that's something that she somebody one time was like, hey Veronica, like one of the bosses was like, Veronica, you know, this person is out sick, so I need you to pick up the slack and blah 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 and do this. And like Veronica was like, okay, am I gonna be getting their salary too? Yeah.
Oh my god, yes. Like, I remember this one. I love that TikTok.
Yeah. And it's like that whole mentality of like work for the job you want, not the job you have. Bullshit. Because if you will do it, like in a corporate world, I've worked in the corporate world. They will take
advantage of that.
If you will do it for free without costing them any other money. They are going to keep you exactly where you are, and they're going to keep you doing it for free. You know, like if you're getting paid as an associate and you are doing the work that a manager is doing, they don't need a manager. They need you, you know? And so that's like exactly fighting for, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm a
Corporate
big
red flags are
proponent
a
for that.
big, I wanted to do a
proponent.
whole episode on like workplace trauma, because boy, oh boy, do I have it. But I remember something that I wish that I would have really paid attention to was, I had this job one time, and it's the only job I've ever been fired from. And it was a job where I very at the very beginning was like, hey, like this is my experience level, but I'm very teachable, you know, like
Yeah.
very, very teachable. And
Mendable.
they loved my, like, they just loved my charisma. Like you said, they loved my like just everything. They liked my
Your
past work samples.
presence, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I literally, and like when I very first started working there, I just very quickly, like the red flags I picked up on was like, one, they were not all on the same page. One person would say one thing, the next person would say the exact opposite. The second thing was that they all talked shit about each other. Like it was mainly 3 people on the team, and then they had like a bunch of like contract workers or like workers that were hired through other things. So I was literally the 4th person on the team, but they all talked shit about each other. And then they would all be like, love you. Like literally in my first like week there, the owner of the business who I was going to be working with the most had COVID. And so I wasn't able to like work with them directly. So I was there with one of the other people that I would be working with like the most. And we were like literally, because the office was based out of his house. And I know that sounds weird and creepy, but it wasn't like that. Like he owned this really big, nice house in like the historic district of the area I lived in. Not going to give any information because like, you know, but and the whole like bottom part was like dedicated to the company. So it was really cool. Like you were just given like, you know, like, and he had a lot of storage stuff there. So it was actually really, really nice. But he had COVID, so I wasn't able to work with him directly. So my first week I had to go meet up with the other person. I forget what their position was, but they were like another higher up in the company. We went and met at a restaurant and did like training that way and everything. And during that day, like she literally sat there and was like, you know, it's going to take you the first few months to like really, you know, hit the ground running and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to urge you to just really slow down and like learn the flow of the company and all this other stuff. And I was like, cool. I was like, that's going to be very hard for me because I want to like hit the ground running like immediately and really dive in. Like I'm ready to start learning things. And she was like, I hear you, but like, you're just not going to do that. Like, it's not like, she was like, you definitely like are going to learn and everything. She was like, but you really need to take your time and like really get into the swing of things. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, literally 2 months go by and that's when I got fired. And like, I was like, you literally, and all the things that they were like saying, it literally was the fact that I was entry level. They wanted someone entry level at the beginning. Then they realized they didn't. But like some of the red flags, like was literally like there were different points where the owner was getting frustrated with me over things that I didn't know. Like I did, like no one had taught me. I had been trying to figure them out by myself. And like he was giving me these different courses and stuff like that, and like literally paying for them and was like, well, let me know what you need. And I'm like, how am I supposed to know what I need when this is my first time diving into it? We've talked about this. Like one of the things was that I was really, really good at learning new software. And he was like, cool, we need someone to run Shopify for us. And I was like, cool, I'm sure I can figure it out. Well, they had a whole coding business come in and code a bunch of stuff on the website, in the back end of the website. And if you've never done anything with coding before, you're not going to know, like, you know,
you're
like,
lost.
yeah. And I mean, I came from like a medical kind of like background where like I was doing a lot of stuff like in an administrative way during COVID, like for an ER, and they had coding that they did, but it was specifically for their software. So when you learn it specifically, I was able to do it like that, like literally like put in codes and stuff like that to like change to whatever, like it was nobody's business. Like I was super quick at it. And so that was all it was like, I just need someone to teach me this coding stuff, but I don't even know what coding language they're using here. Like, I don't even know where to begin, you know? And so they were just like, basically had like buyer's remorse where they realized they didn't want an entry level person. And all the things they were upset about were things that in the first week, that girl that I met with said like, well, you're not going to get this right away. You're not going to, like, it's going to take you at least 3 months to get into the swing of things. And so at month 2, whenever they were like, well, you haven't been doing this, you haven't been doing that, I was like, literally my first week, she said this, right? And another big red flag that I wish I would have paid attention to was that they had someone else that was working there, like with them at the very beginning. And or not at the very beginning, but like right before I started, that had been working with them for a while, that apparently like rage quit one day. And the girl that I was meeting with, that like was doing the original orientation and everything, like, and onboarding, even though there was no actual onboarding that happened. She told me, she was like, yeah, so this other dude that worked there, he is like, he just like really hurt her feelings one day, and like she literally had to start going to therapy again because of him. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, he just has a tendency to like have no filter, and like he can just be very like attacking and blah blah. And I was like, I'm not the one. Like, I am not the one. Like, you're not gonna act like that toward me. Like, sorry, not gonna happen.
No, absolutely not. If you're gonna make someone cry at the workplace, what are you doing with your life? Like, I want to know. Like, unless like they're not doing their job, and you're having like an actual productive conversation about it, why are they crying?
Honestly, this is gonna get trigger warning. It's gonna go into a little bit of a darker place. Trigger. Oh, my cat just came here screaming at me. So if you hear him, that's his little noises. But anyway, so but trigger warning for essay. So during this time period, while I was working there, I've talked about it on a past episode. I unfortunately was essayed by somebody, and it was someone that was a close friend of mine that all of my coworkers had met, and they all kept on joking, like prior to the bad thing happening. They kept on joking about like how he was gay and that like we were going to end up together and all this other stuff. And I was like, he's literally just my friend. Like, if he's gay, he's not ready to come out about it, so on and so forth. And so when this happened, I they could tell something was wrong with me at work, and I truly believe this did impact their decision to finally like fire me. And so I literally, like, I just was out of it. I was not doing well. I was like really depressed. I just obviously was not, like, I was processing, and I didn't really fully understand what happened, And so the same girl who had like trained me in the beginning and all this other stuff, like, asked me, she was like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? And I was like, I just had a really bad weekend, and like, because this had happened over the weekend and I was there at work. And wow, this took a shift. This took a big shift. But this is more red flags, I promise. And so she like immediately was like, well, what happened? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, me and this person went out. And she immediately like jumped back into that whole like, ooh, did y'all like blah, 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 all this other stuff? Like, did y'all like, she was like, did y'all kiss? And I was like, well, no. I was like, he tried, but like, I didn't want to. And she was like, why? She was like, y'all are going to end up being together, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're going to want to kiss him one day. Like, I promise. Like, I know you just see him as friends. And I was like, no, like, I was like, he like did things to me that like I didn't want. And she was like, you just have to warm up to it. And I was like, no, he like,
what?
I was like, yeah, I was like, he was like really drunk and he just like really pushed himself on me. And like, I didn't want that. And she just like, it was not clicking in her head. And she even like the guy, like the owner of the business ended up coming in there and talking about it too. And was like, oh my gosh, yeah, you two are just going to end up together. And I was like, what? And of course I just like mentally shut down,
I would have too.
And like after that, yeah, I definitely like went into a hole and just kind of stopped talking while I was there. And I was working on things, like I was genuinely like trying to plan all these different campaigns and like run all this stuff. And obviously I'm capable of it, because here I am doing it with Enhance with a lot less resources than they had. I just needed to be able to learn things and know where I was going. But they didn't want to teach. And then they just like, I guess because I like went into my hole, they just didn't like it, and they fired me very quickly after that. And like, I literally tried, like, because they were questioning me about why my mood had changed and why I was acting different. And I was trying to be honest with them and confide in them, because I had bonded with them. I was literally like working out with the girl, like 3 times a week. We were going and working out together, and like, it was just a whole thing. Like, and there were so many red flags, like where we had hired different companies to run some ads and stuff like that for us. And like, they would like shit talk the ad, like the people in the company that we had to talk to regularly. And like at one point when they were ready to like break ties with them, the guy that had like made this girl go to therapy, that they still, like, I'm telling you, they all 3 shit talked each other all the effing time. And like, yeah. And so, which the guy stopped doing it, like shit talking to me, because I started calling him out in front of other people and be like, well, didn't you say this the other day while we were on the phone? Like, because I'm not going to sit there and do that. Like, if you say it behind somebody's back, you need to be able to say it to their face, period. And so, especially if it's somebody that you sit there and claim to be like, I love you so much and blah, 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 and be like work besties with. And so literally he said something in one of the meetings where he was like, because the girl was like, upset that she was like, well, I really liked this guy, and like now, I'm gonna have to like unfriend him on Facebook and stuff like that. I was like, well, why? Like, professional disconnect doesn't have to be personal disconnect, like just because you don't want to utilize the company anymore doesn't mean that you have to break that tie, But then the guy said, well, that's why you just don't go adding a lot of people on social media until you know that it's something permanent. And I had checked like that weekend, and he had unfriended me on everything.
Oh.
Yeah. And so then it was like that next week is whenever I got fired. There were so many red flags that I'm like, I literally tried being like, no, these are cool people. Like, this is a really great opportunity. And it just like was not. Like, it wasn't cool. And like they tried, like, especially the owner, and so did the like girl kind of too. They tried to continue being friends with me some after that, being friendly with me. And I was just like, too much trauma has happened. And like, I don't think they fully grasped that I was literally like sexually assaulted at like the week before.
I don't think they did either. I don't think they fully processed that, because I think that was one of their kind of their red flags, as they put blinders on because it's their friend, right?
Yeah.
Like their coworker. They like no.
Yeah. It's like you come to me and you ask me like what's wrong and like why I'm acting different, and I try to explain to you, and then you're gonna like be jokey and funny with it. Like, no, don't genuinely ask me what's wrong and then try to like you said, put the blinders on. Like, don't try to be genuine with me if you're not going to be genuine with me. And so I just
wonder if that's also like full on denial.
Yeah. And also I think they shipped us, which was really weird. Like, they shipped
Very
me
quickly.
and my friend, and they like, so, because they shipped us, they were like, I guess wanting it to just happen, like, and they were those kind of people. It was just really weird. And so, yeah, but there were so many red flags. And I'm like, if I would have just picked up on that in the very beginning, like I would, because like I was traumatized from getting fired from that job. And like, I had friends that were like, dude, like getting fired is a normal thing. Like, people deal with it all the time. And I'm like, I had never been fired, and knock on wood, I haven't been fired since, like knock on wood.
I mean, unless they push you out because you're doing better than them.
Yeah. So yeah, so I mean, like, and I also like, luckily, knock on wood, haven't just like left a project since I started working freelance in film too. So like, what I'm saying? So it's not like, and even whenever we're setting up Enhance with our clients, like we always stress like, hey, feel free to come renegotiate. Feel free to come re-step back up to this. If this ends up not being what you wanted it to be, like, let's have an open discussion about it. And if we can't fix it, we'll cut ties and move on. No big deal. Like, I try to keep that very open and flexible, because like
peace,
people
love, and happiness.
Exactly. But like that, like being fired just like all of a sudden and being blindsided like that, like literally just like it destroyed me. Like, it literally like I went into a deep depression, and then went and started working a job that was a terrible shitty job that we can talk about some other time when we actually do a whole episode on workplace trauma. But like, you've heard stories about it whenever I worked at a sales company, and I'm just going to leave it at a sales company. But it like, so much stuff where the guy who ran it was a narcissist and like couldn't learn from his mistakes and learn from his decisions, and like was inappropriately doing things with someone else that worked there. And it was, whole thing.
Tea and shade.
Yeah. More red flags, but that we can get into some other time. But yeah, do you have anything you want to add about red flags now that I brought down the mood?
You didn't bring down the mood. You were giving very pertinent information, because sometimes red flags can go that far. They can get pretty deep, and whether it's in the workplace, with your family, with your friends, within a relationship, whatever it is, take it as it is. Take it as a grain of salt. You can move forward without them.
Yeah. And like,
easier said than done, but
I mean, always, if it, like, that's something, see something, say something, that's something that's what I always say is like, if you like, I'd rather address something early on and be wrong than wait and sit there and gaslight myself for months and then be right and it be that much more catastrophic. And of course, you have to learn like balance between knowing the difference between anxiety and actual intuition, or anxiety and gut. But like, you've got to listen to you. You've got to listen to you. Like, learn how to tell the difference if you can, and learn how to like put boundaries up to really protect yourself.
Correct.
Because like, those red flags, like, they're not gonna just like all of a sudden stop being red flags. They're just not,
And I mean, people mess up. People will apologize if they truly care about you and your friendship or your relationship or whatever it is, right? They will apologize. If it's becoming a repetitive issue, snip, snip.
Yeah. And I mean, I be apologizing all the time. Like, I literally
Me
apologize.
too.
Like, even if I don't feel like I owe someone an apology, I'm like, that's not what this is about. Like, this person was hurt by a situation.
Exactly.
And like, yeah.
Yeah.
And whenever I was in college, I learned like an apology isn't just being like, I'm sorry. An apology is like an explanation that is like a productive explanation to move the situation along. So like, that's why, and Gabby, you probably noticed this too, like in situations where I'm giving an apology, I never sit there and be like, well, I don't feel that way. Like, that's not what this is about. Someone else is expressing to you how they feel. So that's what the subject is. If you feel some type of way, cool, there's a time and place to talk about that. But right now, like responding directly to them is not the time and place, you know? And so like, I always structure my apologies very like, okay, I'm so like, I hear you. I'm picking up what you're putting down, you know, something like that, where it's like letting you know I'm receiving what you're saying. I'm taking it in. I'm listening to you to listen, not to respond, you know? And then I go, I'm so sorry that happened, or I'm so sorry that it came across that way, or I'm so sorry that me doing that made you feel that way. Like, which you always have to be careful being like, I'm sorry that you feel that way. So that's why you have to, because that's a very toxic red flag there too. But if you say like, I'm so sorry that me doing that made you feel that way, I feel like that's totally fine, because you're taking responsibility for the fact that something I did made you feel some type of way. Cool, you know? And so then saying like, I'm so sorry, blah, 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 blah. That was not my intention. What I was trying to do was this, or what I was trying to say was this, or, you know, like that was not my intention. That was not about you. I was frustrated about this, or, okay, you know, I was not trying to seem that way. I, in my head, was not coming across that way, but I'm going to take what you're saying to heart and try to figure out a way to communicate better in the future. Or, hey, in the future, if I sound that way, can you ask me that in the moment? Or can you give me the benefit of the doubt? Because sometimes I just sound that way. And if there was really an issue with you, I'd let you know, you know, like, ask questions, pose a conversation, you know, like I try to do like a productive explanation that moves the situation forward. And it's not about who's wrong and who's right, because really what is wrong and right just is made up in every situation. Just be decent, which is also kind of made up in every situation, but that's too philosophical for today. Be empathetic.
Yeah, be empathetic, and you can only, and just remember that even though you apologize, like, sometimes it's just not meant to continue.
Yeah.
There's been plenty of times where I've been in the situation where I'm like, hey, like, I am so sorry that I made you feel that way. Wasn't my intention. Maybe next time we just don't do it like that again. Or maybe like you tell me, okay, you know, this is when you're like this, you know, like right now, you know, tell me in the moment, because that's when I'll remember. And that's when I'm like, okay, well, then we can address it right there. But if you're just going to shut them out, if they're just going to, you know, react to you and, you know, kind of like brush it off, but then it's still a problem. It's okay that some people are just not meant to be.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, like, you can only control you. You can only control your reactions, your thoughts, your actions, how you can't control someone else.
Yeah. And I don't know, I have to kind of keep that in my head every day too, is like, you know, I can only control how I am. I can't control how someone else is feeling, and I can't control what anyone around me is feeling either. But if you need to say, you know, if you're in a situation where you need to say like how you feel because that makes you feel better, please go for it and do it. But make sure you're doing it in a respectful way.
Yeah. In a productive way.
Yeah. And that you're not sitting there spiraling, you know, because man, that's what I do. I spiral all the time. If I'm not spiraling, there's something wrong.
Well, on that note,
and on that,
red flags.
Period.
Basically, summary of the episode: learn to listen to yourself. Pay attention to red flags, and even if you don't want to act on them in the beginning, like, just because you notice the red flag, you can at least prepare for if a situation does go in that direction. You can at least be ready so it doesn't take you fully off guard, and so you're not putting yourself in a dangerous position or dangerous situation.
Correct. And with that, live, laugh, love, feel your happiness, and enhance
your peace, your joy, and your existence. I struggled on that one.
We both went, huh?
Yeah. Mercury retrograde. All right. Well, bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Enhance Podcast. I am Sam, one of your hosts.
And I'm your other host, Gabby Sabai.
If you want to find me on social media, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at SamDifYouDo.
You can find me on TikTok at Gabby S80 and on Instagram at GSABAT97.
And if you want to follow the podcast, you can find us on Instagram and on Facebook at enhance.productions.publishing.
And check us out on our website at enhance.productions.
Enhance your peace,
Your joy,
and your existence.